Generally speaking, Zack Snyder made some good films in the 2000s and has descended into making utter crap by the mid-2020s, and I guess Batman vs Superman is kind of midway in this descent. It's long, it's ponderous, it's pompous, it's speechy, it's dark, it's gloomy, it's got all the hallmarks of his usual self-indulgence. It's got DC's best characters, Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman, and it's okay at best. Nowadays, we're used to Marvel movies being rubbish, but the DCEU has unfortunately always been rubbish. That's not to say that there aren't some good things. I think the best thing is probably Ben Affleck as Batman. I think it's a really interesting portrayal. He's burnt out, he's frayed, he's still physically strong and methodical in what he does, but there's this edge of carelessness in how he goes about things. It's a real shame there was no Batfleck movie before this. I really would have liked to see how he got this way. I kind of feel the same way about Alfred the Butler being played by Jeremy Irons. It's a more involved portrayal than Michael Caine in the Christian Bale movies. Jeremy Irons' Alfred works on the tech on the Batsuit. He's very weary and disappointed, but there's still a feeling that he cares for Bruce. It's a very Snyder interpretation that partly works. There's just not enough time for the sense of his relationship with Batman to properly come through. So Snyder's miserable dark tone suits Affleck and Batman. It doesn't really work for Superman and Henry Cavill. Superman is supposed to be a symbol of hope, and this isn't really explored compared to Batman. I mean, there's kind of the Jesus shots, I guess, seems to be the closest that the movie can get to optimism. It can't really explore Superman's philosophy beyond Martha Lane basically saying, do whatever you want. It's quite nihilistic. Early in the film, there's a question, should Superman be answerable to the government? Should he have to follow laws? And this gets dropped soon after the question is asked. It's just another example of how Henry Cavill as an actor is perfect for Superman, but they never really found the movie, the story, to actually explore the character properly. Characters in general is one of the places where Batman vs Superman and the DCEU failed as a creative and financial endeavour. It's the cameos. So Marvel went down this route once it got lazy. For the DCEU, they were shoving everybody in right from the start. The Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, and in supporting roles but still with problems in this film, Wonder Woman and Lex Luthor. These cameos are treated in a tick box way, as Marvel would degenerate into in later years, particularly in stuff like the Multiverse of Madness. The next movie in the DCEU after Batman vs Superman was Justice League. I'd say watching this has a sense of desperation in how much they want the same kind of success as Marvel without necessarily seeming to put in the time and effort for it. It makes me appreciate how unusual Marvel phases 1 to 3 were in terms of the patience that they had in building up the narrative over multiple films. So we get a potentially great Batman, we get a potentially great Superman, but neither of these iterations of the character reached that potential. We also get Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I thought her first movie was really good, and she's a fine looking lady. Is there enough of the character here without knowledge of her first film? I'm not sure, because I watched Wonder Woman quite a few years ago before I saw Batman vs Superman. I wonder if there's sufficient screen time and character development to warrant her inclusion. There's Lex Luthor, who's easily the worst cast character of the film, totally lacking in gravitas. I really like Jesse Eisenberg in something like The Social Network, where I think he's perfect, or Zombieland, basically some kind of goofy, ironic millennial, which just doesn't fit Lex Luthor at all. Just not scary, just kind of irritating. So in terms of casts, in terms of plots, it's a real mix. I mean, there are some attempts to tie it to Man of Steel, so there's the Kryptonian ship, there's General Zod. The special effects are particularly poor, I think. Lots of the darkness and crackling electricity that future DCEU films films had that just looks really cheap and nasty. The battle between Batman and Superman is actually quite good, but the final battle is horribly overlong and unfortunately just boring. I mean, it's Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman. It's the biggest three characters in the DC universe, and while there are things I like about this movie, and there's lots of potential here, I can't imagine I'll ever watch it again. Thanks for watching.